Hey guys, welcome back. Zerby2 here today with possibly one of my most controversial videos of all time. Today I decided I'm finally gonna do it. We're going to rank every Assassin's Creed game on a tier list, including Mirage. So I know people have done this before, I'm sure, but maybe not yet with Mirage. Who can say? My credentials before we begin, there's an 𝐃𝐞𝐿 statue back there. But I've been playing Assassin's Creed since 2. I've played 1 as well, but since Assassin's Creed 2, I've played them all. The only ones I didn't play at launch, I believe, were Unity and maybe Odyssey and Valhalla, for obvious reasons. For Unity, at least, anyways. As well as that, I have the Platinum Trophy, which means I've done everything you can possibly do in the entire 𝘃𝐿 Trilogy. 3 Origins, which is no small feat. I think I'm like 2 trophies off on Syndicate, and then I will be finishing up Mirage's Plat this week. I just finished Mirage's main story 2 nights ago, so I decided now I think I have enough of an opinion on it that I can plug it in with these other games. I've never ranked the other games in comparison to each other, but I think it's going to be pretty easy. For me, it's pretty obvious, but I think there are going to be some hot takes today. And before we begin, also, I'll have chapters along the bottom of the video, which you should be able to see. If I'm rambling too much or whatever, you want to just see where I put each game, you can click along the chapters and see, or you can go straight to the end if you really so wish. And that said, this is the definitive factual list of Assassin's Creed rankings. I will take no arguments. This is the definitive list, and this is fact. But anyways, I'm an Assassin's Creed aficionado. Those are my credentials. Let's get straight into it. I think some of these are going to be pretty obvious. And then, of course, there's personal bias. This was a tier list thing, but I added in Chronicles, and I left them all as one. This was just my own choice. They weren't on the list at all. But I added in the Chronicles games, which I have played, and we're just going to use them all as one game. So the Assassin's Creed Chronicles are the 2D side-scroller ones that are not really mainline games, but the rest of these are. This also includes Rogue and Liberation, which you can argue about. But anyways, Mirage is here as well, which I added myself. And besides that, these are just all the mainline games. It should be all the games in general. Starting off, we'll just go in order of release. Assassin's Creed 1, the first one. This is one of the only ones I think that doesn't hold up very well. And I'm kind of ranking these on like how good they are and if you were actually going to play them now. I think the first one is like a B in my opinion. Which maybe I'm already pissing people off. I don't know. You got to leave room on the list, okay? The S tier is almost exclusively for Brotherhood, but we'll get to that. Anyways, the first one, I'm just going to put it in B. It's like a high B. I could be considered to be an A because obviously it started everything off. But like I said, I have actually played 1 and the entire 𝘃𝐿 Trilogy and 3 all this year to completion in preparation for Mirage. So I actually can tell you for a fact that AC1 doesn't hold up as well as Assassin's Creed 2 does, for example. And then Brotherhood, I honestly would almost make S tier just like the Brotherhood tier. I could add like an S+ and just have it be Brotherhood. I think Brotherhood is the best Assassin's Creed game, hands down. Second, like I will allow argument second only to another one that'll be coming up here shortly, that I'm sure you're screaming at the screen about. But anyways, 2 and Brotherhood, I would say, are both an S. Brotherhood still, to me, just has not been matched. I think Ubisoft in general, the Assassin's Creed brand, has always been just chasing what they had with 𝘃𝐿, and they've never come close in terms of like actual story and character and, engagement. Like nowadays on Mirage, especially the last 2, but even on Mirage, I straight up am hammering to skip the dialogue because it's just so much talking at you and just the most like cookie cutter plots now. It's like the same shit you would expect. I did like Mirage's ending. I won't spoil anything, but it was a good surprise. But it was the same kind of surprise that you've come to expect. And that said, I think 𝘃𝐿's trilogy, the story of all of them, is extremely well done, and it's just like their high point by far in terms of storytelling and characters. Like there is no main character like there was with 𝘃𝐿, and there may never be again. Revelations for me is not as good as the other 2. I think it was a bit of a step back, but still very good. It might be a little high in the A tier, but it still had all the stuff from Brotherhood, just not quite as well done, I feel like. I'm also not valuing multiplayer in any sense, but I did like Brotherhood's multiplayer at the time. Of course, that's not a thing you can do anymore, so there's no point in really ranking it on that. but I thought I'd mention it anyways. And then we had Assassin's Creed 3, which was a very controversial one at the time, and I played it now, like I said, to completion, and I do not know why it was so disliked at the time. I was really young, so I loved it. I was in like high school, maybe grade like 9, I think, when it came out. I loved Assassin's Creed 3. I was obsessed with it. I have like shorts on my channel that are privated now that are like me in an Assassin's Creed costume, like beating on children at my school. Like, I was also a child, of course.
Yeah, he's on it.
Where is he?
He's watching.
Assassination.
But anyways, I used to love Assassin's Creed 3. For me, it's an A. I think it's still really good. The open world is incredible in that game, and it's different from anything else that they had done, right? It has so much wilderness that they had never done. It's the first one with animal life. It's got hunting. Like, the actual step up in, like, production and, like, features and everything from anything they had done before to 3 was so massive. I don't know why it was hated at the time. Honestly, all the shit they are doing now was that they just kind of do the same thing every time. This was when they were actually adding like incredibly new shit, like the hunting. You can air assassinate like a bear out of a tree. The game is hype. You know, it has the first one with like enemies with full like weapon, like guns, and there's firing lines. You like use people as human shields. I used to love this game. I think it's really, really good. I also like the story a lot. It's hard to go from like a trilogy story with Ezio now to a single game story, which is all they've really done since then. But following 3 was Rogue, which is kind of like a spin-offy, not really mainline, but it's tied in with 3. Same with Liberation. For me, I think Rogue's storyline is really good, but it's kind of more the same. Was Rogue after 3? I believe so. Or was it after Black Flag? Who can say? For me, they kind of fall like that. I mean, Liberation could also be a B, probably. It's not bad. They both just kind of play like DLCs, if that makes sense, because they're just not full games. They're kind of just like little side games. They're not bad by any means, but when you're on a list that's this competitive with other masterpieces on here, I think this is kind of fair. Again, AC1 could probably move around a bit, but who can say? Anyways, Assassin's Creed 3 I really like. That's the main it's the main thing. Maybe I'm crazy, but I love AC3. The whole look of it, you know, it's so sick. I got the steel book upstairs, the axe tomahawk, the Assassin's Creed symbol tomahawk. Anyways, I'll stop talking about AC3. AC4 is the one I was saying could be in the Brotherhood tier on its own. Black Flag is chef's kiss. Black Flag is the last time that Assassin's Creed like did better than previous. It is the peak. They've never matched it. That is the peak of Assassin's Creed. Brotherhood and Black Flag. Brotherhood in terms of like what Assassin's Creed is, like the formula and the plot and the characters, that's the peak to me, AC Brotherhood. But in terms of a video game with how many like different features and fun gameplay and still being an Assassin's Creed game at its core, not this Witcher ripoff shit. Anyways, Black Flag is the peak in terms of just like game. Like if you want to play like a goddamn game, Black Flag is so good. I mean, it is for a lot of people their favorite Assassin's Creed. I can see that for sure. I love that game. I was going through all the games getting the plat trophies, but Black Flag has these like online ones, and you can't, like, it's horrible because at least with the Ezio ones, they re-released them as the Ezio collection without the online trophies, so I was able to get the plats. Black Flag and like Unity and all these other ones still have these multiplayer trophies baked into the platinum, and it just crushes my dreams. It makes me so sad. It's a masterpiece. I don't think anyone watching this would argue that Black Flag is not an S tier Assassin's Creed game. After that one started to come the downfall of Assassin's Creed, I believe. So first big whoopsie that they ever did, Assassin's Creed Unity. At the time, very poor reception. This game did so much damage to the Ubisoft just brand and the Assassin's Creed brand in general. How many times I had to see the image of this skeleton-looking man. It's like one of the most notorious bug images ever. It still gets posted on Ubisoft games, on Twitter, stuff like that. They still get flamed for this game at launch. It is probably one of, at the time, most broken launches. Nowadays, I think every week there's a broken launch of a game. But at the time, Assassin's Creed was making really good games. Like I said, this is after Black Flag. Unity was marketed as co-op. It should have been incredibly cool. Should have been amazing. And of course, I assume I didn't play it at launch. If you could look past all the buggy, horrid, not finished sort of shit, you would have had a fun little co-op game. I never got to experience it co-op, sadly, but I have played it since on my own. What I will say is that Unity has some of the best parkour of any Assassin's Creed game ever made. Probably still the best movement system of any of them. It's so fluid the way it works. I don't know how they achieved it, and I don't know why they have decided not to continue it. Now it's so much more rigid. Like, if you've played Unity, it is actually kind of mind-blowing. If you go from playing different ones and then you play Unity just free running, like the verticality of the city you're in and the way you can go up and down the buildings is so smooth, so fast. It's maybe like less realistic, but I mean, has it ever really been realistic? But it's extremely fluid. Also, the most dense crowds I've ever seen in a game. It takes place during the French Revolution, so there's these huge like mobs and riots and stuff like that. And it is like they have this whole like system for the crowd designed where like the whole crowd is kind of one organism. It's like hundreds of people, but you can kind of mesh through them like as if they were one sort of blob. But it's so many people. Like, it is the densest that I've ever seen in any game. Still, like Cyberpunk, GTA, all these like modern big games have never matched the crowd density in Unity. I don't think any game ever has. Maybe I'm wrong. But as far as like an open world, run around and do whatever you want, I've never seen that many people in one vicinity. It's so many people, which is really cool to sort of actually feel like you're blending through the crowd, doing Assassins type stuff. For me, Unity is a B, taking into account its entire life cycle. But even now, I think it's a good game. I just don't think it comes in par with some of these other ones. Unity, if you're just about free running and stuff like that, you could maybe make it an A. But it also, for me, was the start of like very overwhelming Assassin's Creed, if that makes sense. Like, it's so much dots on the map, so much dense chests and everything else. But again, that's personal preference. Following Unity, we had Syndicate, which I almost want to put Syndicate at A. I really liked Syndicate. Maybe I'm crazy. I think it can probably stay in B, but I could consider A. I could be considered to A. I don't think I've ever even heard anyone talk about Syndicate, really. I thought it was really cool. It was the first time you could switch protagonists, as far as I know. You played as a brother and a sister. It was in, like, Industrial Revolution, England. I thought it was really cool, It's, like, one of the really cool time periods. They're sort of running out of actually interesting time periods. But I liked it. It was more modern than some of the other ones. The train stuff was really cool. I liked it. I thought Syndicate was cool. You got cool gadgets and stuff, more like Brotherhood, because you're sort of more modern Industrial Revolution times. I liked it. I thought it was cool. I'm going to put it at B, and I could put it at A, but I'll put it at B. As for the Chronicles, I'm not sure when they came out, but I'm going to put them at C. I don't think they're bad by any means. I just don't think comparison to like real full Assassin's Creed games, they're sort of like a little, they were with Liberation. They're like a spin-off. They at least took the brand in a different direction, changed things up, and they play completely differently, a completely different game, and maybe there's a whole other group of people that really like them. But just as far as Assassin's Creed games in general, I think they're a C. And now we get to when things started going a little crazy. AC Origins. For me, Origins, maybe big surprise, is actually an A. I, at the time, really loved Assassin's Creed Origins. I got the platinum on that game at launch because I loved the game. And that is no small feat because this game is massive. These this is where they started doing the sort of RPG, massive world, Witcher Junior sort of games, where they completely reinvented the formula. They made them more like a role-playing game, abilities and mystical, magical nonsense. They lost the plot for sure, but they traded it out for arguably better gameplay, but in my opinion, not better, but at least at the time, fresher, because it was off the backs of a couple less popular games. And this was their big throw everything at the wall, change everything up, freshen up Assassin's Creed. And I think it did that, and I think it did it very well. I really liked AC Origins. The setting was really cool as well. Ancient Egypt. It fit in with the other Assassins, lineages and whatnot. I thought Origins was really good, really cool. They didn't go too far with the scale. It was big, but I felt like I was at least always going towards something, which I cannot say about a certain other game on this list that we have yet to get to. But Origins for me was an A. Odyssey for me is going to fall into B. The thing with Origins that was so amazing is how much it changed, how much of a big breath of fresh air it was, how different it was. And then Odyssey came out, and it was the same. And it was, just more of the same. I never finished Odyssey. Again, the time period's cool enough. It's not bad, it's not great. And then, for me, Valhalla is way, way down there. Okay, Valhalla, just as much as Brotherhood deserves an S+ section, maybe with Black Flag, Valhalla deserves like an F-. Like, leave the class, go back a grade. You got such a low grade, you're gonna have to redo grade 4 year. Valhalla, you blew it, you fucked it real bad. Valhalla for me is an F tier. It's so boring. I cannot even begin to describe it. This is from someone who loves Origins. But I think what happened was they just kept doing the same shit over and over again, which is, you thought they'd learned their lesson, that they used to pump out, all these other games every year. It was like one year. Next year was this. Next year was this. Next year was Unity. Next year was Syndicate. It's like, stop just pumping out this shit. And then they just kept doing it now with these massive, bloated, empty nothingness worlds with the most who gives a shit plot line, because it has to span like 200 or 300 hours of playing this goddamn game. Maybe not quite that much, but like 90 hours of playing the game instead of like 20. It's just so boring. And I know that it has the COVID excuse, which I'll give them the COVID excuse, but it doesn't change the product. The product is fucking boring. Whatever the excuses are is why it was half-baked and unfinished and empty and boring. It's boring. That's all I can really say. Like, I have never booted up an Assassin's Creed game and given up so quickly and checked out so quickly. I could not get more than, I think, a couple hours into Valhalla, and I was trying. It is so fucking boring and empty. It's insane. Like, they literally just start the game, and you have to go through a bunch of talking, like always, which is fine, and then they just let you loose. Like, they tried the Breath of the Wild approach. They just let you loose. But the problem is, normally, like in a Breath of the Wild, where they let you loose, it's because there's something interesting to go do that you're looking at. You want to go loose. In Valhalla, they let you loose into, like, a fucking canoe in the ocean, and your only options are to paddle for like 40 minutes towards an island that is completely fucking empty, and then roll around through the snow for like another 40 minutes. It's so boring. Valhalla is an F. I'm sorry. I don't know how, but I do know that people love Valhalla. I don't know how. This is part of why I was scared to do this, but Valhalla stinks. I'm sorry. I don't know what you guys are smoking. So many people love it. People are going to buy Jade when it comes out, but the next Japanese role-playing one, it's the same formula as Valhalla and Odyssey and Origins, but it's in Japan, samurai time, the weebs are going to go crazy. At least the era that everyone's been asking for forever, and they waste it on the RPG version instead of the Brotherhood 𝐃𝐞𝐿 style. Anyways, Valhalla's an F. It stinks. It's horrible. I challenge you to get joy out of that game. I don't get it. If you can, I'm kind of jealous, because you'd be sitting there watching paint dry, just woo, having the time of your life. I can't get that much joy out of the most boring shit. Like, holy shit. Anyways, Assassin's Creed Mirage, what you're all here for, the newest Assassin's Creed. I'm a very strict critic, as you've seen. I'm trying not to look at any of these with rose-colored glasses or nostalgia filter or anything like that. I'm trying to be critical of all of them. For me, I played the 𝐃𝐞𝐟𝐢𝐧𝐢𝐭 Trilogy recently, and they were really good. That's why they're up there. The fact that they still hold up, they're really fun. They're actually concise, and they get to the point, and they're tight. You know, they're not short by any means, I don't think. They're short compared to Valhalla, maybe. But they're a good length, and the whole time you're interested and you're having fun. Yeah, they used to do all trailing missions and shit, but now they do something much worse than trailing missions, is they stop you completely still, and they just talk at you. Back then, if they were going to talk at you, you just followed them around while they talked at you. At least that's slightly better. Like, we went away from trailing missions, and now we're in standstill and get fucking talked at. Like, it's like they just go on and on and on and on. And I'm sitting there hammering skip, like, please, I don't give a shit. And they just go on and on and on. But that applies to Valhalla, and that applies to Odyssey and Origins and Mirage, sadly. Mirage, while they took massive steps back towards what makes the games good, they went back to actual stealth, actually playing as an assassin, not playing as some god witcher motherfucker. Play as an actual assassin. You get the Assassin's Creed fantasy. You get to sneak around and do stealth. And if you don't like stealth, one, I don't know how you're playing Assassin's Creed, but two, you're not going to enjoy this game because it is extremely stealth focused. But they do it in a way that, it, to me, isn't boring. And for me, the story was decent. It's obvious, you know, they didn't sell it for full price. It was originally going to be an expansion for Valhalla, like a DLC sort of thing. I think that's a little obvious in a lot of ways. I think if this had been a fully fleshed out, fully funded, fully supported, I don't think they had any belief in this game behind the scenes, like from Ubisoft. I think it could have been extremely good, like a return to form. For instead of being a complete return to form, it's sort of a half step towards what it should be, while still hanging on to some of the shit that we need to lose, like the never-ending standstill dialogue, like the kind of slow parkour that is almost one-to-one from Valhalla, and, you know, the still kind of bloated, empty open world. I will say the city of Mirage is extremely nice. I really like running around Baghdad and, you know, the surrounding smaller cities and stuff. But the actual outside wilderness stuff is extremely boring, and it does take up a large portion of the map, but not a large portion of the game by any means. If you don't choose to, you pretty much never go in the wilderness at all. There's maybe one or two story missions throughout the entire I finished the main story in 15 hours. You don't ever have to go to the wilderness, but if you're like me and you want to get the platinum trophy and you want to see everything, you do, and it's very half-baked. Very boring. The mounts are extremely slow. The areas are just empty nothingness. They kind of have animals. They have like a snake and like a tiger, jaguar sort of thing. You never encounter either of them. Like, it's just them. It's very not finished, not done at all, kind of phoned in, the open wilderness stuff. But again, you don't ever have to interact with any of that if you're just normally playing the game, but it's still something worth mentioning. That said, Mirage for me is a B, I believe. And it's a high B, I would say. Like, it's definitely in front of, probably like in there somewhere. And then Unity's probably like here somewhere. That's pretty much the actual order, I would say. If you went top to bottom, I would say that's probably the actual order. So if you wanted not only a tier list, but just ranked worst to best, the best ever, in my opinion, is Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, followed by Black Flag, followed by AC2, then AC3, then Revelations, then Origins, followed by the original Assassin's Creed, followed by Unity, the brand new Mirage, Rogue, then Syndicate, then Odyssey, then Liberation, then the entire Chronicles Trilogy, and then Valhalla wiping up the rear. That is my, I would say, final opinion. I don't really want to mess with that at all. I think Mirage is really good, don't get me wrong. I actually really enjoyed Mirage, and I was able to play it from start to finish, and I will be doing the platinum as well this week, which I cannot say about Valhalla, and I didn't finish Odyssey either. They're just so bloated, and with Valhalla especially, so boring. There's no way you can hold someone's interest on something so boring for that long. But with Mirage, I feel like they kept the game length more tight, which I do actually appreciate, much more manageable, and it's still well worth the amount that it costs, because again, they cut a little bit off the price, which was nice of them. They definitely didn't have to do that. And I think, hopefully anyways, I haven't really looked into it, but I think it did pretty well. And I think it really speaks to what the general Assassin's Creed sort of fan base wants to see. You know, we want more like Mirage. I know there's obviously a market for Valhalla, because like I said, it's extremely popular. A lot of people have played it. A lot of people love it. We had Mirage, and it's pretty popular. People have enjoyed it. I've seen lots of praise for Mirage. It's not the best game ever made, but what it does do is actually return to the things, the themes, the gameplay loops that people actually want to play in Assassin's Creed, and it tightens things up, and it just feels more like what Assassin's Creed should be. And I think that there is an argument to be made. Obviously, Jade is already going to come out, and it's going to be back to the old Valhalla format. And I by no means want Jade to do poorly, and I don't think it will. I think it will be massive just for the fact that it is Japan, obviously. The most requested that they've ever had across, a decade has always been, when are we going to Japan? But then, we've also had Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima is really just, I think, not going to be passed. But again, maybe that's why they're doing it the RPG way with the Valhalla formula, because then it's something different from Tsushima. But anyways, I'm getting off track. I don't think we need to be one or the other. I think that the Mirage formula for me is my preferred way to play Assassin's Creed, and how I think Assassin's Creed should be. But I respect Valhalla as well, and I am under NDA, so I can't say too much. But I have also played the mobile game that's coming out, and I know you're probably like spitting at me already. How dare you say such blasphemy? It's something to watch out for. I can't say anything about it really, but it was very impressive, I will say that. The things you can do on a phone now, I mean, you guys have seen the new iPhone can play Mirage apparently, so I'm not going to say much, but the Assassin's Creed dedicated mobile game, it is something to keep an eye on in terms of gameplay anyways. I don't know what they're going to do with it on the gacha side. It might become the worst gacha mobile game thing ever. It looked like Genshin, but it played like, Odyssey or Origins. Anyways, I've said too much. That is it from me. Thank you guys for watching the Assassin's Creed tier list. I went on pretty long, but there's a lot to discuss. I have a feeling I'm going to get torn up in the comments, so I wanted to at least give my opinions on why I was putting these things where I was. But that is about it. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. If you want to see more from me, be sure to subscribe. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Comment down below what you think. What's your own list? Where did I go wrong? Should Black Flag be above all the rest? Is it better than Brotherhood? Am I just way out in left field? Should 2 be down here? Probably. 2's not as good as Brotherhood or Black Flag. Maybe we do that. I won't touch it anymore. I just kind of looked at it, and I was like, Brotherhood and Black Flag are like the best ever. 2, I think that's good. I said I wouldn't touch it, and then I already did the outro, and then I touched it. I won't touch it anymore. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. New videos every other day. Subscribe if you want to see more. Probably going to talk about Mirage soon here, like an actual video just on Mirage. But yeah, this was fun. Hopefully I didn't piss everybody off.